Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. We are in the building. Right. We're in the screen. Welcome to the Chicken Box. This is Kevin Impeccable Peck, your co-host, along with Courtney Alexander on the Afro Digital team, all the way from Chicago. Oh, look who popped in, the CEO of the Afro as well. Welcome to the Chicken Box. How are you?
Hello.
I know you're getting yourself together. Courtney, what's going on in Chicago?
I actually just saw Dr. Draper in Chicago. Some of the Afro team was here for LMA Fest, so it was great seeing them. And the weather is phenomenal this
All right, so you just throwing out words. What the heck is LMA Fest for those who don't know?
week. Local Media Association. We had a fest, and I got to learn more about like AI, like some marketing tips. It was just a good like collaborative.
Got you. LMA, the Local Media Association, it is a part of a greater whole and really just strives in the industry and the media and news industry and just tries to come up with innovative ways to really help publishers and organizations thrive in this changing media world. Dr. Draper, we're not talking about this, is not the LMA show, but we're talking about Black people versus anger. So, we're going to take a couple deep breaths today, but, well,
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad. What a timely topic. I mean, I was on a train. I did see Courtney in Chicago, and then yesterday I went to Atlanta. And on the train in the Atlanta airport, there was a young woman who was upset about, I guess, somebody not picking her up or not planning to pick her up from the airport, and she was livid. She was so angry that she let go of the thing she was strapped, she was holding on the train, and fell on the lap of the guy sitting next to me. That's how, that's how upset she was. But the bottom line was she still didn't get a ride. you know, I mean,
uh,
she was so angry and so loud and so profane that the little children on the train did like this. The little children put their hands over their ears. I don't think because of her language as much as her volume.
right.
And the person must have kept telling her, "No, you're not." They said, "What's the rapid transit? Take the it's not
Marta.
yeah, take the MARTA." And she's talking about how she flew and how she was tired, and they must have stuck to their guns. But she was just, I mean, she went crazy.
Have you ever witnessed crazy? We're gonna get into that. And is it really crazy? And what is anger? And we got some special guests. We're gonna get right into it, y'all. This is the Chicken Box, powered by the oldest black business in Maryland, the Afro American newspaper, 131 years. Congratulations, Afro. Thank you for setting the bar high. And thank you for always just informing, educating, and inspiring us with some good news, because we hear enough bad news in our community that sometimes we need just a little bit of good news. Okay, and the good news is it's Black people versus anger today. And the better news is we got some people who are going to help you deal with it. So, Courtney, why don't you introduce our special guest? We're going to get right into it. This is the Chicken Box. If you're not from Baltimore, yes, it's four wings and fries. It's greasy, sometimes salt and pepper, and you just love it for lunch. If you're hungry, I made you hungrier. If you're on this show, the Chicken Box is where you get to speak your truth. This is not a designed question and answer, perfect presentation. This is a conversation. We're gonna have some fun, and we're gonna bring on some people to say, "Hey, how can we deal with some of this anger?" Because there's some angry people out there. And sometimes it's us too. Let's welcome to the show from Yoga Mouth Studio, Kel and Kristi. I know that's Fel and Kristi. I don't know why I want to make both of y'all names with a K. Welcome to the Chicken Box. How you guys doing today?
All right, how you doing, man?
Really well. Thank you so much for having us on today. It's an honor. Thank you.
I'm gonna call you the Jenkins. The power couple from Yoga Mouth Studio.
Love it.
Introduce yourselves. I love when couples come together and do business and love at the same time. It's a wonderful thing. So just tell us a little bit about Yoga Mouth Studio. This is Black people versus anger, and we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna get right into it, y'all.
Yoga Mouth is about 5 or 6 years old at this point. And Yoga Mouth started when we met, because I met him teaching yoga. He was like this smile in the front of this dark class. And I was interviewing for a position, and he clapped at the end of my class. And then I went to his class next to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And he happened to be my partner. And after that, we realized our disciplines combined. And he said, if you can fix my back, I'll get down on one knee. And I used my yoga to fix his back. And I'm a blue belt in jiu-jitsu now, thanks to him. And here we are 5 years later talking about anger. We don't have much of it. But like
love at the yoga class, you know, you're in that hot, sweaty room, and the smile just came through, and there was a love connection. That doesn't sound nothing about anger. That sounds really love, you know. But today we're talking about anger. Why do I want to keep calling you Cal? I know it's Fael, right? Fael, but it's pronounced Fael, right?
Yeah, like you fell down.
Right, like when you hit them people with that Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Talk to me. What is Brazilian jiu-jitsu all about?
It is a grappling martial art. It does with a lot of joint manipulation and body control. So like, and it focuses strictly on the ground. So like, it teaches you how to take it to the ground, control who you need to control, and like what I like about jiu-jitsu is there's no like striking involved, so you can keep both parties safe. Like if I have to get a hold of somebody, I can hold them and like have their arm bent a certain way and have like full restraint control. We call it control and negotiate in our class. Like, hey, chill out, you know what I mean? Or wait till come help. But yeah, definitely like in a one-on-one situation, it definitely helps me out because like, you know, like I was saying earlier, I'm 5'2", 118 pounds, and a lot of my students are like 6 feet, 200 some pounds. But
right,
I can hang with them because of jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely. This is Black People versus Anger. We have yoga and jiu-jitsu, love and marriage, you know, goes better than a horse and carriage. But go ahead, Kristi.
The jiu-jitsu too, the reason why we incorporate it into our yoga, because it's not like when you're talking about two traditions that like really seem completely opposite. I mean, when we first met, I'm teaching him peace and love in my yoga class and we're all breathing and calm. And then he literally, by the end of his class, had me in a chokehold, whispered in my ear, they call me the backpack, and choked me out. But that was still love. That was still nonviolent. You meet, like, what I love about him in jiu-jitsu is that he is absolutely tiny. He's the smallest dude anywhere ever, yet he's one of the most powerful. So you get to watch the play of ego so desperately like happen in these big dudes that are like 250 pounds, world champs, bodybuilders, and Fael is just circling them. They call him, they tell me it feels like I was stuck in a swarm of bees, and they have that look of just like, what happened? This little man just destroyed me. But you get to see the rawness of who we are in those moments. And that's where we combine this stuff, and anger works so well in this practice of jiu-jitsu if you're in the right training company with the right coaches, because they're looking at you and they're watching. When people go to jiu-jitsu, like most of us are really obsessive. Most of us are really deep in some sort of trauma, depression, anxiety. They call it therapy. They call it church. They call it family. When they're the gyms are like a really, really special culture. And when I was watching that happen and learning through him, I realized how we can put these disciplines of mindfulness together when we're asking these guys, especially men, who really fight with the mental health system and the stigma of anxiety, depression, and they put it and they embody it, and it becomes anger. And then they come in to train, and then they meet guys like this that destroy them, and it's really humbling. And the whole point of the jiu-jitsu practice, and you know, he said 12 years to get his black belt. He's been facing his ego, his anger for 12 years. And it's a really incredible mindfulness practice as well.
It also kept me out of a lot of trouble. It's hard to get in trouble when you just go from the gym to work, back home, be with the fam and stuff like that. It also was an outlet that way too.
And it's good because you're actually like, it's violence that's consensual. You know, you're agreeing in that moment with another human. Yeah, we're gonna go all out, and then you can compete. You know, we both competed. He's just got his gold medal at the PBJJF Pan Ams a month ago, right?
Gold medal.
Yeah,
everybody.
But it's cool because you see the camaraderie. Like he got his gold.
If you just tuned in and wonder what the world we're talking about, this is Black People versus Anger. We have special guest couple, the Jenkins, Fael and Kristi, from Yoga Mouth Studio here in the Maryland area, and they are talking about mindfulness. We're talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Dr. Draper, what comes to your mind? What mindfulness are you thinking about? The backpack. Okay, go ahead. It's stuck in my brain, the backpack. Anyway.
That's his name.
But I'm just thinking, if you can, if you can use anything, if there's anything you can use to really change your mind, I think sometimes it's a mindset. Sometimes we're angry and don't even know why we're angry. It's here, and work it out. So Kristi mentioned therapy. So therapists would say, get a pillow and punch it. Find something to punch other than your partner or the person that you say is your friend. But if we can work it out physically, a lot of times it resolves that way. And so I love what they're doing, because it sounds like it's a really holistic approach to not just working out anger. Because once you work out anger, then you can become more self-aware too. A lot of times people are not self-aware because there's so many barriers before they can even get to see who their real selves are. So that's what comes to mind for me when you say mindfulness, or how I can see how this would really, and people have different temperaments. And I guess they can speak to this about different temperaments. Some people wake up angry and nothing happened. That's just who they are.
Waking up angry. I want to speak to everybody. Angela, Jewel, Bonnie, Taryn. That's our producer. She's always in the conversation. She probably practiced with some jujitsu behind the scenes right now. But Bonnie says, is it safe to try if you suffer with joint pain in the knees? And I think she might be referring to yoga, maybe.
Yes, actually, because and I say yes, and that's such a good question, and it's so powerful because that speaks to some of my anger. Because yoga is this ancient healthcare practice, first and foremost from India, created by people in Black and brown bodies, brought to America, whitewashed, marketed, packaged, and sold. And it's not what we see on television, on Instagram. It makes me so furious to think that we even have to ask questions if it's safe for us, because it is built for everybody. And it is made to be like, I've trained at the graduate level with physical therapists and mental health therapists, as well as physicians. And they're all my colleagues. So if you're with the right trained yoga professional or mind-body professional, they have all the training to modify, to improve that pain, like hands down, with some of the most conscious, self-aware methods. And Dr. Draper mentioned it right on the nose. People lack self-awareness. And that goes to the question about pain in your knees and yoga. If you're going into a yoga practice, a fitness practice, anything, and you don't have a teacher that's encouraging you first and foremost to know what your body needs, then you're going to miss it and you will get hurt. That's where the injuries do come from. It's just poorly trained teachers, and that's not their fault. We lack a lot of really good training here in America because we've taken out a lot of the history, the culture, the science, and we've turned it into a commodity. So I appreciate that question.
Very good question, Bonnie. I tried yoga, and it was the Bikram yoga, which I love. No. Actually, it's the hot 105-degree yoga where your heart rate, as they say, it's like you're running almost 8 to 10 miles in that class. But Bonnie, I did it because I didn't want the stress on my knees of the running, but I still wanted the heart rate. And as crazy as it sounds, after all those different turns and stretches and everything, you feel so amazing after you leave that class. It was like the toxins have come, like you feel like a new person. Yeah, it's 105 degrees. You can't even imagine that you can breathe in that daggone place, but it is an eye-opening experience. Anyway, thank you, Bonnie. Back to everybody. This is Black People versus Anger, and we haven't been angry yet. We haven't even, been triggered to be angry. Courtney, what's all of this trigger? We are a multi-generational show, so I represent, of course, Gen X, the best. Dr. Draper is a millennial boomer, and Courtney is a Gen Z. So Gen Z seems like they get angry off anything. If you post something, if you don't like what they like, they just are angry. You are the worst. You shaming, all of that. Talk to me, Courtney. What's going through your mind when we talk about Black people versus anger?
So I do agree with that. Like I feel like on social media, a lot of people just get like angry, like you don't agree with them, or you speak your opinion about something. I feel like we're like divided personally. Sometimes it's scary to speak your opinion because people will look up your address, like you'll get canceled, you'll get fired. So I feel like some of us, we can outright speak our minds, but some of us like we're afraid to because I'm like, I don't want to have anyone like angry show up at my door, show up like at my job or something. So I feel like due to that anger, a lot of us like feel like we can't like speak our minds freely.
Man, speak to that, Kristi.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I want to push this book that we're talking about because that speaks very specifically, and mindfulness in general speaks to that. Like being able to speak your truth or feeling that feeling of oppression leads to deeper anger. Do you notice that in yourself? I don't want to speak for you, Courtney. Do you feel like your anger compounds by not being able to speak to it?
Yeah, sometimes like it builds up over time, and then when it builds up, then eventually you just like explode. And like I tried not to get to that point because it's not. I feel like it's like counterproductive because it all comes down to like expressing yourself and like properly communicating. So sometimes,
And that,
yeah.
yeah, no, I appreciate. Thanks for answering that because this gets really, it gets really nuanced because that anger that's building in different bodies, in different cultures, in different genders, in different experiences, it's a buildup not just of like your day before or the fact that you don't want to go to work or somebody made you mad earlier that week. It's like it's a buildup of ancestral trauma. It's race-based trauma. Depending, we're talking about Blackness today. There's absolutely no reason that isn't the forefront of what the anger comes from in many ways. If you're in a Black body, that's why this book, Love and Rage. I can't go backwards with the camera.
No, you good. You good. We see it. It's perfect.
This book is amazing because it talks about everything that I'm talking about, but it comes from the perspective of a Black man raised in Atlanta, exploring, raised in the church, the Christian church, and having these feelings of like, do I belong? Who am I? And recognizing that having his voice suppressed and not knowing and not having the language or like Dr. Draper mentioned, the awareness of where this even comes from. You interpret it into depression, anxiety, chronic pain, hypertension, high cholesterol, strokes. Like in the Black community, the health problems are very much connected with stress-related, anger-related conditions. And I can speak to it and I can empathize and I can have done my studies, but to have a teacher like Lama Rod speaking to this specifically from race-based trauma and the anger and the rage that emerges from that, it's something we all have to work together, obviously, to get through, because he speaks to the trappings of white supremacy and that holds us all underneath its thumb. And when we get into those moments of like, why am I angry? I don't even know why I'm angry anymore. Why am I exploding? Books like this, practices like we're talking about today, of just staying present, not hiding from the anger, staying in that moment.
That's $1.99, y'all. Go ahead. I've just looked at that low price. I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, is that? Oh, look at that. Yeah, it is. I mean, this book is great because I think a lot of times we have discussions like this and they're really powerful because we all share our ideas, but then at the end of it, you don't have anywhere to go with it. What do we do next? How do you put it into your body right here and right now? What are the tools that we need to make actual change with our anger? Like when Courtney's feeling angry, Courtney, could you speak to like maybe what do you do when you say like you fill up and you explode? Like what kind of things help you come back down or bring you back to the present?
Yeah, I learned coping and grounding skills like in therapy. So I think you just realizing like, okay, I'm like in a safe environment. I can be vulnerable and I don't need to like react that way. And then, do something that you love, like go for a walk, like bake, or, watch a TV show that you love. Like I think just snapping back into reality and like working through those emotions definitely like help.
That's cool. Yeah. And that's where like anger, I am the science nerd in all this. I like to study the neuroscience of what we're actually doing to ourselves. Because it's good to talk about I bake or I walk or I cook or I breathe, but what are we actually doing? And then if we know the mechanisms, we can put that into practice when maybe you don't have access to therapy, because a lot of people either don't or won't. You know, what do you do if that's not on your list of things to do? What are we actually dealing with? And that's, so if you're living at these chronic states of anger, of fear, of anxiety, because they all kind of go together. I don't just exclude it. Anger is not exclusive. It leads to the symptoms of depression and anxiety as well. So what are you doing with all of these things in your body? You're lowering your resilience to both physical and mental pain. And then you're increasing the stress load on your body, which is your heart, your breath, and the actual systems, your biochemical systems. So it's like revving your engine all the time. So with these practices and with this awareness and the things that you're learning in therapy and the things that you're doing, you're at like red line, and your body's at red line, and all of your systems are at red line, and you can't run like that because your car explodes after a while, which you see happen. So these practices, and why they're called practices, is you have to do them consistently. Like you'd work out at the gym once, you're not going to get muscles. You got to work out for a long time. Same thing, but you're bringing down your red line. So when I'm up here and I have this practice of awareness, of breathing, I have these self-care tools, slowly but surely my red line comes down. So I run at a lower temperature naturally. So it's going to take me longer. So I'm going to go here for a minute and I'll still get mad easily, but I can come back down. And then with practice, I'm here. And then it takes me this much longer. So you're incrementally bringing down your systems. You're rewiring and repatterning your brain, and it actually changes the chemicals in your body. There's great research for it. I can get nerdy for days, but that's essentially all these practices.
We like nerdy, by the way. Just for the record. Okay.
Good.
Just for the record.
Well, actually, one of my favorite nerdy authors who wrote Buddha's Brain mentions Lama Rod's book in his new neuroscience book. So that's one of the reasons why I think Lama Rod is just magical, because the scientists love him too.
Absolutely. This is Black People versus Anger. We're dealing with mindfulness, awareness. We have the lovely Jenkins power couple on with us today, Kristi and Fael. I know your brain doesn't even want to say it, but I get it. Fael, I love it. You know what I mean? They're a blended family. They brought their practices together to fight anger. I heard you said it right. And Courtney, thank you for just even being comfortable to say that you went to therapy, because a lot of people in my generation, we weren't talking about no therapy. Black people going to therapy, are you crazy? You know, we lived with a bunch of crazy family and people that we knew, just like, and that, I'm not calling it crazy in that way, but you understand what I'm saying. You always had somebody in the family and they weren't getting no help, but they were off, you know what I mean? And they couldn't get back on because they didn't have help. And I'm glad that this new generation has made mental health so easy to talk about and share. And that, I think, is a beautiful start for everybody. You're never too old to talk to somebody. You know what I mean? Anyway, I digress. Dr. Draper, what are you thinking about? How did the boomers handle anger?
The boomers as a generation are still angry, if you really take a look at it. For a lot, and I think for lots of reasons. Not every, when I say as a generation, I'm not talking about, it's never for everyone, right? But think about how many things that are happening now that are repeating themselves. You know, it's a whole lot of things, like the Bible says, nothing new under the sun. So, you know, the racism and the persecution and the killing of Black people and all of that, those are the things that the boomers already have, heard about from their parents, and they lived through it through the civil rights movement. And it just has, so the more things change, the more things stay the same. Now, there have been some improvements. Come on, don't get me wrong. But boomers are angry as well. And they're angry sometimes because people don't get it. You know, don't get the struggle, don't appreciate the right to vote, with some folk, just all of those things that you keep rehearsing over and over again makes people angry. And I think, so I don't want to characterize a whole generation, just like I don't want to characterize Gen Zers as a whole generation, but I think there are a lot of boomers that are still angry. I mean, even as we approach the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington, some of the boomers were very, very young, but they participated in that. And we're saying, okay, this is not a commemoration, right? It's almost like a reenactment. So I think that the things that are happening in society, the bigger things, you know, people can be angry about things that are in their lives, but there are larger societal things. There's a lot of tension. I'd like to hear Fael talk about it a little bit. There's a lot of tension in the United States of America, y'all. There's a lot of tension. You know, almost every place you go, and I visit Texas a lot, there's a lot of tension. There's tension about what's happening in Florida. There's tension about the number of police officers who are killing mostly black men, black women too. Now, you know, let's not forget that they're black women too. But there's a lot of aggression just in society. A lot of, you know what, I gotta watch my back. I mean, my grandson and a friend and an adult were walking through Soho yesterday, and guys pulled out a taser on them. You know, just a lot of aggression. It's a lot. Anyway, Phil, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I've been through that. But like since I started reading the Love and Rage book, I'm not done with it. Close to halfway through, but it's one thing about that book that's been pointed out about anger is that it's really is just being hurt. So like when I start to look at it that way, it changes the perspective. It changes how I look at angry people. If they're angry at me, I'm like I just see them as hurt individuals. You know what I mean? Opposed to like, and that helps me to not be angry. Also, I mean I still do, but it's a practice. Like I said, I just kind of like start reading a book or whatnot. But after that realization that anger is just covering up the hurt, and you address the hurt opposed to addressing the anger part. Now the result for me, what happens is like I cry a lot now. But it's like, but the anger is kind of like keeping me from. It's like holding back tears and stuff like that. I spend years and years of holding back tears and stuff, to where like now, instead of me getting angry, I just cry a lot. Like I'm about to cry now just by talking about it. It's crazy. But
hey, real men cry, Phil. So
yeah, man, and it's crazy because this is new to me. You know what I mean? I grew up like you cry, you're a punk. You know what I mean? Like you can't be seen crying and stuff.
Right, wipe your face, wipe your tears, dry them tears now. Like you don't even have a chance to even experience an emotion. Like clean yourself up.
Pretty much.
You hadn't even got one tear down, and they telling you to get yourself together. Men don't cry.
Yeah, and then it's like I can't even explain like how I feel. Like I'm a grown man, and I'm just getting to the point now I can kind of explain like how I'm feeling and stuff. And it's messed up, man.
It's beautiful.
I didn't know this stuff earlier.
It's beautiful. So the tears of joy. I mean, the Bible talks about being angry and sin not. Now, you shouldn't like bottle your emotions up. Like when you feel something, you feel it, right? But and you should experience that. But then it's how you respond to it, opposed to react to it. It's how I've looked at it. This is just me personally. What's your thoughts, Kristi?
Yeah, I mean, Fael's he's been one of my best teachers and one of the best practitioners that I've ever worked with because of his ability to confront these things like as head on as he does. He truly is an example of everything, because he started a lot of his practice with me directly, and I've watched his growth, and he's introduced me to anger that I'd fought against, but I didn't actually experience and know what it looked like in a body that was intimate in my life. Mm-hmm. And that brought up rage in me that I'd never experienced. And to see him, it makes me emotional too, because it's like because you live in these bodies that you have no choice but to swallow that anger, to swallow those tears, and to watch a man that has just like this incredible emotional potential just now saying like, I wish I'd always been able to do that. And to hear the stories of where anger has been such a formative part of his experience, like being able to see the power of opening up to the emotional body, not just this physical form that we close off this vessel, but faith, spirituality, awareness, connection, those are all parts of this body. And to close that off, like he's talking about, it's toxic. It's toxic physically, it's toxic mentally. So, the tears, the shaking, the movement, the pacing, the breathing, all that stuff is really part of the process. It's science. It's animals don't sit still when they're angry. Like a dog is poised. It's tight. It's tense. It's making sound. It's growling and it's ready to fly. It's ready to get you. That is like anger is a full body process. You have to full body release too, and that's what he's experiencing right now. And through this, it's so cool to watch it in real life, though, and to have somebody so vulnerable to share it.
Phil, don't try to get me to cry today. Don't try it. You might do it. All right. It's like Jerry Maguire. I'm not going to cry, Phil. You know what I mean? I promise I'm not going to do it. And then in 2 seconds, I'll be crying. If you just tuned in, this is Black People. We're dealing with anger. We got the big mouth. Is it the yoga mouth? Why did I say the big mouth? The yoga mouth studio.
That's how we got the name.
Big yoga mouth. Add big to it. No, the big yoga mouth studio. Founders, couple of Jenkins, Kristi and Fael, hanging out with us on the chicken box today as we talk about anger. And somebody once told me that if something makes you angry, that's probably your purpose. Like if you're angry about a certain situation, I'm not talking about your in general anger, but if something angers you, even if it's like I can't get clean water from here to here, or I don't have electricity in my village, whatever it is that angers you, they say usually it's probably your passion and purpose. Talk to me, Courtney. What do you think about that statement?
I have to look into that because typically I think I can have more of like the avoidance style. So, like when something makes me angry, then I'm like, okay, I'm going to avoid this because like I associate that with like, I guess, negativity. So that's a new perspective. And I have to see from like a different perspective on that.
Dr. Draper?
Yeah, no, I think you're right about that. So it's I call it righteous indignation as opposed to anger. So if I have righteous indignation about the condition of the poor housing in Baltimore City, right, then it propels me to do something about it. If I have righteous indignation about the number of homicides and what's happening with Black males, then I want to be propelled. So most of the time, if I have righteous indignation about something, now I know sometimes people just want to talk about it and they air it, they vent, and they're good. But when you really and so there's probably indignation can turn into anger, but I'd rather see indignation turn into action, right? Because when you're angry, if you're just angry, sometimes you're blowing off. So it's good to get it out and to have your emotional response to it. But if you're angry about an issue or a condition, for example, I get really, I get really, not upset is not the word, because I don't, Kevin, I don't get upset.
Bothered.
Yeah, bothered when something happens to young people. It's a very emotional experience to hear about children being abused, misused, killed, maimed, or anything like that. Especially when I hear stories about little babies that didn't even have a chance to live, a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever number of years. That triggers something in me, and it triggers something in me to be just very, very. I'm always aware of young people in my space. Always.
Right.
Always.
Did you look? What I was watching screen when you were talking about all of our faces. We were like, what are they doing to these children? I don't know if everybody watching.
But I'm always.
But we all.
I spend a lot of time.
All of our.
I spend a lot of time in airports. I spend a lot of time, in community, and I'm always bothered by that. And I'm the kind of person that, and I think I've got. So now I'm at a certain age I can do it. I used to do it when I was younger too. I may pull a mom or something to the side and say, "Hey, they might. Are you interested in a better way to maybe handle that? Or I engage with the child. With how you can engage with children from a distance and engage. And my husband's the same way. So neither one of us is shy about intervening in a situation if we think a young person's at risk. I know that's some. I'm gonna tell you this one story. This is a true story. We're driving down a street in Baltimore City, and a kid has been jumped by some other kids, and they are beating the crap out of him. All right, and so well, anyway, they're beating him on the corner. We stopped the car. It's like 11, 12 o'clock at night. We had kids of our own, and we had a baseball bat in the trunk from somebody's ball game. We popped the trunk. My husband gets out, gets the bat, and starts swinging the bat. And I tell the kid, get in the car. You don't know us. Here are your choices. Stay out here and get killed, get your butt beat, or get in the car with us. Mm. And he got in the car with us, and we just took him to his house. I've never seen that kid since then. So that's the kind of, so some people look at that and say, you all are insane. What is wrong with y'all? But it just goes to your point. If you're angry about it, I call it righteous indignation. We didn't sit and think about, say, baby, hey, you think we ought to? What do you think we ought to do? You think we ought to call 911? If we called 911 time, they got that child probably had been dead. So the way they were beating him. So we just believe the Lord is with us when we do those kind of things. We took that child. We have, like I said, we have not heard. We don't know. I don't even remember his name. I don't know anything about him. We just took him home.
Welcome back, y'all. We are in a moment of time. We are talking about Black people versus anger, but you don't just have to be Black to be angry. That's just, we're the Afro News, 131 years, the oldest Black business in Maryland, and we talk from a lens of being Black, but that doesn't mean that those are the only people that we talk to. So don't get us mistaken, because we choose to champion our community. Nobody gets mad at the Jewish Times or any of the other papers that happen like that. So I'm just putting it out there. I don't know why I said that, but hey, take it how you want to take it. But we have the Jenkins hanging out with us. Hey, Rachel, Laura, Bonnie, everybody hanging out. Alicia, you put in the chat where you're from. It's always glad to have you chime in. Rachel said that happened to me. And she just blew the horn, probably just, that horn blow where you just stay on the horn and just burn to the fact that somebody knows that. And hopefully it helps, because when did banking anyway come into effect? Well, we got the jiu-jitsu master, the black belt, on with us. What kind of cowards bank people anyway? Anyway, go ahead, Fael. Talk to me about what's the mindset of why would people banking people anyway? They're just trying to get a free lick. I mean,
I don't honestly, I don't know. I think like people that do stuff like that are like just so hurt and don't really have anything for themselves, nothing to be proud of. Because like if you got like a sense of purpose or something to be proud of, you don't go out trying to mess up other people's stuff. You know what I mean? So like I really don't get it for real. They think it's funny, but it's really not. It's just people that has nothing to live for, honestly. I think people just need to have something to live for, and then they wouldn't feel the need to do stuff like that.
Right. If you just tuned in, Phil was talking about earlier how he learned how to switch the anger of how he views a person that's angry, and he views them as hurt. It's kind of like that movie Shallow Hal. You guys remember that movie when even though the ladies were really large or I don't know what to call them, full size women, he always imagined them as slim. As some slim model, but that wasn't really so. Phil has Tai Chi'd the whole thing. That's why I called you the master earlier. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which a lot of people see MMA on television, but which is grappling. It's not a lot of striking. It's more grappling is what we learned earlier for those who would like to get into it. And his beautiful wife, Kristi, is a yoga practitioner. So he put her in some kind of backpack chokehold or whatever. And whatever that backpack chokehold is, she loved it. So I fell in love. Wait a minute, I can't move. I love
It was perfect. Well,
I really
this
don't know what. Go ahead, Griffin.
this speaks to what Dr. Draper was saying, and that followed up on, and like you're tying it together so well, impeccable. But the kids are really what's next for us. I mean, for all of us, like working with children, because we as adults have a lot of tools and we have resources, and we have. I mean, we need more. Don't get me wrong. We need more. But part of our programming that we do is combine both of these disciplines. And we have a program called Yinjas, which is like yoga ninjas. And we have a curriculum that does just what Fael's talking about, is attempts to give kids a purpose that isn't, because I found that most jiu-jitsu only programs are really fun, and they talk about the mentality of martial arts and self-improvement and discipline, but they lack, like, again, the coaches lack a lot of therapeutic training. They're not in the mindfulness world bringing to integrate. So that's kind of where we saw this gap, and we started to fill it. And our Yinjas program's been really exciting because we get to watch the kids like Fael's such a strong presence and such a powerful physical body, and he's so calm and composed, and he has such a mastery of like himself and his own ego. So the kids get to see that, especially reflected in a Black man, because we work mostly with like the Black community in our area. So the kids get to see someone that looks like them. Representation is so much a part of what we strive for. And then introducing these concepts of like, yeah, you're angry, this kid's choking you out. Yeah, you're mad that this kid is bigger than you and holding you down. But what are you really going to do about it? Because at the end of the day, that kid can beat you up, period. And that, yes, that's infuriating. And it's infuriating to us as adults. I hate when I'm held down and I can't get out of somebody's side control. It's terrible. But I got to figure it out. I can't punch them. There's still rules. So we're really combining this for kids in a way where they're looking straight on in anger. Yeah, and they have a coach like him in our program to talk them through it.
And help you be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. It's like, and it's a lot of emotions that go through it too. Like she was saying, if you're stuck in like a position called side control, like you're under somebody that put a lot of pressure on you and stuff like that. There's a lot of.
Is it verbal side control, mental side control? Are you talking about mental side control?
I'm talking about physically somebody on top of you holding you down. And
okay.
They're restraining you. You can't move. There's panic comes and you can't breathe and all this other stuff happens during those times to where like that's when the breathing comes into play and just knowing that you're safe. Because when we practice this stuff, there's a trust, unspoken trust that everyone deals with. You know what I mean? Because there's a tap system. If it's too much for you, you can always tap. Everybody stops. It's definitely respected. You know what I mean? So like you get to practice being smashed and smothered and remaining in practice, remaining calm in those situations and stuff. And that goes a long way. You can carry that practice out into your real life.
Fael, I like what you said, because I was watching last night. It was a guy who was talking about self-defense on YouTube, and it was, he was like, all of that John Wick martial art is cool and nice to watch on film, but when it comes to a place where you're really in a situation and somebody's going to attack you, talk about those emotions that people feel. I mean, and we're talking about anger, but that you feel when somebody angry who has no control, it's going to attack you. So, he talked about in the video flinching. He talked about, the heart rate racing really fast, and just, as much kung fu karate, when that happens, it's, you got to be able to talk to me, Sensei.
Nobody's ever really prepared for that situation, honestly.
Right.
So like, what? That's why I practice a lot, to where when that situation does happen, my mind is going to be the first thing to go out the window. So then my body is going to be what has to take over. So whatever kind of shock that my mind is through, my practice is going to take over. So like, I don't know what to ask. I never have been in an altercation since I've been training. I've been in more altercations before I trained than when I started training. And so like, honestly, I don't know what would happen for real, but I do know that my body takes over. So like if I'm walking down the street and somebody grabs me up and tries to like put me in a van or something, I will be scared. But while I'm thinking like, oh snap, my body is going to be doing things.
Absolutely. So we're talking about ways and outlets, and I was on with somebody just on a regular conversation. It's not a lot of outlets for kids anymore. We were talking last week about a skateboard park that they were just trying to get built in the city. That it was just so much pushback from just a skate park, and I'm like, and kids love that, and the outlets have begun to be really limited. You know what I mean? And before it was go outside and play. It wasn't no phone, no pager. When it got dark, you bring your butt back home. That was just the rule. Now we can get in touch with you all over the place, but you just right downstairs and you texting me from downstairs saying something, and you're not even outside playing. But you know what I mean, but how for kids, the kids like yoga?
Yeah, I just taught summer camp this morning, and I always teach as a yoga scientist. I never go in and teach them yoga anymore, ever.
Right.
Yoga as movement, as poses it's
old school.
It's not it.
Right.
Yeah, it's not the science of it. What I want kids to learn from this is the regulation. I bring in martial arts all the time. I bring in jujitsu when I teach yoga all the time, because to me you don't understand peace without rage. You don't understand love without anger. It's bipolar. You can't, the idea of balance is you're constantly riding on that edge of falling off somewhere. You know, you can only balance if you're on the edge. So that's what I'm giving kids, that opportunity through the yoga practice to introduce them to the right to have their anger, the right to be mad. Because almost nobody's more oppressed in some ways than children, because like we've got 5 of them and they have zero control. They go where we tell them they need to go. They got to go to school because I got to go to work. They got to eat this dinner because that's what I want. They have that, like they have a right to their anger, their feelings, the ability to talk back, but how do you do it appropriately? And yoga is that intro to understanding that with just a shift in your breath, you can completely shift your mind. And then and that's where we combine it, because then we put them in stressful situations, because we watch adults and we ourselves as adults go through it every day when we train. So we put them in these situations after we give them some of this yoga training, and Fael's got them in these really challenging physical situations. And then we're looking at them and sometimes they're crying. Sometimes they're looking at us like, help me. And we're saying, you're okay. Remember your breathing. Remember, that's your yoga right there. Are you really in danger? Oh, okay. And our oldest has autism, and he trains very differently than the rest of the kids in our family. But at the same time, it's been incredible to watch him go through the practice of combining his mindfulness, because emotional awareness is not his specialty. So this is something that integrates into many, many different lifestyles, different levels of awareness, different bodies. You have to find the right trainers that can work with you appropriately with the right knowledge of the body mechanics as well as the technique. But it's really powerful to start kids. And I watch kids help their parents all the time. All the time.
Mommy, why are you so angry? Breathe.
Yes. Their parents come back to me as individual clients, because I do one-on-one sessions for all of this stuff with people.
Speaking of sessions, guys, if you're in the Maryland area, okay, where's the studio located?
We actually are a universal studio. We run out of other people's places right now. We're working on a space. We had a space, but now we like it better being in the community. So we have a home studio, and actually our home is our studio right now for our nonprofit that's working to fundraise to build more funds to get this programming out to kids and adults that need it. So
somebody listening is going to give you a grant. Somebody has a building. Somebody has a space right now.
We are open to all the possibilities.
You need to get in touch with Kristi and Fael. Hit us up on the Afro somehow, editor at Afro. Give me something, Taryn. Yeah, editor at Afro. Whoever is interested in sharing their space with Kristi and Fael, please hit us up, because they are doing some amazing things. Russell Corey, welcome to the show. He said, having seen both Kristi and Fael with classrooms of kids. It's amazing of how much kids get tricked. Tricked into learning. You got to trick them into learning. Here you go. Learn. Now you're learning. Anyway, and they're
Thank you,
having
Rose.
and you're having tons of fun, right? So tons of fun. So okay, I'm an adult, that's why you guys got to get a space, right? So we could just say, can you just book one session with you guys and get
Well,
the
we travel. So we travel. We can come to you.
travel.
We have our home studio in Essex that I see private clients here all the time. We do online sessions. And I also have a network of providers. Like if I'm not your specialty, I have a network of providers nationally that I can hook you up with that are mind body therapists at the highest level. And our mind body care, unfortunately, right now is not recognized as a licensed profession because it challenges the norm. It challenges, brings the wisdom of Black and brown people from another country to our country, and it says maybe that also works. And it's
maybe right.
It's against the grain, and I watch it work every time. It's saved my life endlessly. I was on just toxic combinations of meds. I was out of shape. I mean, I was a mess, and it wasn't until after the therapy I started these practices, started the science, and understood the mechanisms and realized how powerful this is. Like it is my passion. It is like all I do and all I want to do, because this is healthcare for humans. This is what it means to be alive, to be angry, to be happy, to be all the things. We have to be this. And we need outlets to express it, or we suffer and we're isolated. And it's just not okay. We all deserve to have happiness.
It is definitely not okay. Guys, listen, I'm gonna give you this one for free. The Yinjas, what do y'all call the yoga ninjas?
Oh yeah, our Yinjas program for our
the Yinjas is not just a program, it is a cartoon. So whoever that's got to start working on that. I want to see them little Yinjas just
oh yeah, there's a whole it's a universe.
I want the whole Yinja, the whole Yinja team. I want the Yinja turtle, not the turtle. Make them something else, not the Yinja turtles. But you feel what you know where I'm going, right? Okay, there you go. I'm gonna give you that for if you just tuned in. This is Black people versus anger. Okay, and we have a unique couple, Yoga Mouth Studios, the Jenkins, hanging out with us today. Listen, if you haven't subscribed to the Afro, we are the oldest Black business in Maryland, third oldest in the country. We're not controlled by anybody else. We come on every week on the Chicken Box to be informed, inspired, and educated. And hopefully you will share this content because there's somebody who's dealing with anger right now. It might be you that needs to hear this information. Go to afro.com. For less than 2 Uber Eats, you can have a digital subscription for $100, which is not a lot of money. And if it is, you really need to really work harder.
That's true, though. That's true.
I'm just saying that's not a lie. If $100 is a lot of money, then you have to really solve some more problems to make more money. But the $100, you will get the print and the digital, and you will help our young Gen Zs, our Gen Xs, and all of our multi-generations continue to bring you content and produce unbiased. Nobody's in our editorial room telling us what we have to say about our community. We will say it because we're not owned and controlled by anyone else. Anyway, go to afro.com and get a subscription. That's not a shameless plug. That is just saying we have to support each other. Just like you guys need to connect with the big mouth. No, I'm just saying.
We do have big mouths, though. That's
the
not
Yoga Mouth Studio. Go to yogamouthstudio.com and find out how you can bring the Jenkins to your retreat, to your business meeting, to your school, to your church, to your kids gathering, to your summer camp, to wherever they can make an impact on your family. And we call everybody family because we're in the community together. All right, we're about to get on the box. This is where we can speak our truth and really say how we feel about being angry or whatever else you want to say. Courtney, I'm going to put you on the box first. I'm going to let you go. Whatever you need to get off your chest, Courtney, that nasty
I'm gonna get it out.
text that person sent you or whatever it is. Let's go. You're on mute. Okay.
I actually haven't encountered that in a long time, thank God. But thank you both for joining us. It was a pleasure having you on today. I love what you're doing. I've never heard of that like combination together. So I'm personally thinking about trying that. Kristi, you mentioned like getting back in shape and like, just transforming your life. And the doctor told me, like, yeah, you need to lose some weight. So I'm thinking about doing that. And thank you so much for like what you're doing for your community and for the youth as well. I feel like our youth, they're our future. So we need to get them in like different programs and, like change how we approach things like with anger. So thank you again. And I'm off the box.
All right, all right. I'm gonna let y'all go last. All right. So I'm on the box. I think I've been angry, and a lot of my friends would say I have tons of patience with people. But Fel, I think you really helped me today because I usually don't let a person's emotional outbreaks or their loudness or all that fussing and cussing knock me off my block. You know what I mean? I'm typically can smile as long as you don't put your hands on me or try to hurt me. Then that's a different situation. Or if you messing with my family, my kids, or something like that, I probably will black out. But I'm just saying, just because it's family. But to now look at that person as they're so hurt that this is the way they have to behave, it really turned something around in me. And I hope somebody else saw that when a person is enraged and they are really angry, that you could just turn it around and just see how hurt they are. I mean, and I'll talk biblically because that's what I believe the Bible says. A soft answer can calm an angry person. But if you just go anger for anger with an angry person, it's like just throwing a bomb in the fire and expecting it not to explode and not only burn you, but burn them too. Susan Peck. It's a lot of Pecks popping out. Everybody knows my name is Peck. I got all these new cousins that I didn't know. Yes, and that's how I became light skinned, y'all. All these Pecks, right? Gregory Peck. Anyway,
that's my mom.
That's your mom. What's up, Susan? I have an aunt named Susie. I had to call you. Can I call you Aunt Susie? Maybe you're another Aunt Susie. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, we're all family now. It's all good.
We're all family. I'm coming to a class either online or something. I'm gonna figure out. I ain't really trying to get grappled up though by you, Fel. I ain't trying to get thrown on the mat too hard.
I take weight, man. Come on through, man.
I need to stand up grappling. I don't want to be on the ground, just rolling around in those Speedos with another man. I just don't like it. I don't like it. No.
That's where we got to work on the anger. We can bring you in. You can get mad. We'll talk you through it. That's the hope. There's your practice.
Because back in the day, anger required you to learn how to be a sheetrock specialist because you put a hole in your wall. You remember that? But the funny part is when you're so mad, you miss the sheetrock cleaning, you hit the stud, and you break your hand. Anyway, anybody out there with me? Anyway, Dr. Draper, we on the final word. You're on the box.
Well, first, I want to thank our guests for joining us on today. Thank you all so much. I love what you said, Fel, about, and both of you, about training your body to respond in situations where either, and you all didn't say this, I didn't hear you say this, you're going to be angry, or you may panic and respond in such a way that when the adrenaline starts to really kick in, you are doing more harm than good in the situation. And so it sounds like, and it's not like a one time in the gym and all of a sudden you've got the muscles or you've dropped the 10 pounds, but it sounds like a lifestyle. It sounds like a teaching of techniques that all of us should be aware of for self-defense, because the body was created to naturally respond, and the environment has taught us how to unnaturally respond. So just to get back to how God created us to respond and training for that. That's what I loved about this presentation. It's a system that it sounds like anybody can be trained for. We didn't talk about this, but you said you could do it with your knee pains. I guess you could do it regardless of age, right?
Anybody. I have clients that are, he has clients that are blind. I have clients that have walkers. Like anybody can do this. You're right.
Okay, and even people that have little strength or whatever, or think how we say, well, I'm too young for this or I'm too old for this. But it sounds as if the training is good for anybody, and that's needed.
the Jenkins, I have another business nugget for you. You need to hit up corporations and for their wellness day. Okay, there is money waiting for you in all of these companies because it's something different, and it's going to be good team building. And first of all, somebody has some space. I don't know which church it is. I already told you that. Which business has space right now that you can house your classes in it for the kids and everybody else. But the other idea is the wellness, and maybe the Afro, we can start it off. Maybe we'll have them for one of our wellness days, and you can come in and we can,
Well, some businesses have, some buildings have gyms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the business, I mean, like where we lease, where we have our space in our DC office, there's actually a gym in there. I don't know how much space people.
Nah, but we need an open
You
room
need
so we can do
Yeah.
so we can do our thing. Anyway, you guys got the final word. You're on the box. Last thing you want to say about whatever it is you want to say.
One, this is like really exciting. Thank you for hearing us, and thank you for seeing the vision that we see to bring all of this stuff together, because it is a full body practice, and it is a lifestyle. It is a concept for everyone, and you can start in the mind, you can start in the body, you can start with both. And one way to start with us is August 23rd at 6 p.m. at our house where we're sitting right now in our backyard. Lama Rod Owens will be here with us. He's coming in from Atlanta, and he is going to be here for the evening. It's low key. Everything we do is casual. Everything we do is family. Everything we do involves everyone, everywhere. And Lama Rod represents that as well. He's going to be talking about anger. He's going to be talking about the practical tools, and he's going to be talking about his experience in a Black body going through this. He has such authority to speak to what we're speaking about, and I'm really excited to share that. You can go to our website and you can find out how to make a donation. It's donation based, so you can show up. We want it to be accessible to everyone, and if you don't have $25, maybe it's $5. We'll take whatever you feel like you can give. But if you want to see us in person in classes, I run classes on Saturdays and Sundays in Parkville currently at a gym. So if you're looking to get back into shape and just kind of learn how your body talks to you, that's step one. You don't have to jump in head first. We can go toes at a time. You want to say something, Phil?
Yeah, holla at me. I do private jiu-jitsu lessons also. You can contact me through the Yoga Mouth. I see.
Yeah, impeccable. We need you in here. We're coming
I'm
to
ready.
that.
I mean, I think I made it to an orange belt or yellow belt when I was younger. And then a really fat guy kicked me really hard. I think I was really done with it. It was like in the shin. It was horrible. But
you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, man. We'll get you there.
No, I love it. You know what I mean? I like some different kind of ways than a bunch of gym equipment to work out. I prefer other types of things. So I really dig yoga. So I'm going to try this Brazilian jiu-jitsu one day and Fight Club. Here we come, baby. Anyway, hey, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Everybody, look. Punch a bag, not your woman or your man.
True.
I was at a concert in Baltimore on Saturday, and it was a couple. The man got so drunk, he threw his drink on his girl or his wife. She knocked him cold out. I was like, what's going on? I'm in the audience. I'm like, he laid him out on the floor. Anyway.
We need to get her in the gym with us. Okay. Hey,
Black people, especially women, you can't throw nothing on them. You can't throw no water on. You can't throw nothing on them people. Anyway.
Yeah, they gotta get these teachings.
Right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. The Jenkins, we're gonna stay in touch with you. You are now part of the Afro family. Everybody else, have a fantastic day. Don't get to the point where anger causes you to really lose who you are. I say this to a lot of my young kings and queens in the hood, or just period. 30 seconds can cost you a lifetime. Just 30 seconds of just getting so angry that you shoot somebody or you kill somebody. Back in the day, you got beat up after school. It was like 3 o'clock. You better be out there, like, oh no, you're like, oh, we're gonna fight today, right? And so you don't know who's gonna win, but everybody's coming out to see it, and then you fought, and sometimes you're best friends. Today, it's just ridiculous. They got all of these weapons, and they get angry, and they just do something, and then now they just sitting in the jail for a long time, or maybe for life, just because 30 seconds you couldn't control your anger. So let's try to do better as a community. There are different outlets and resources, and Yoga Mouse Studio, put that on your list, parents, for you and your kids, okay? Because we get angry, and then they see us get angry. Even kids, they see the parents get angry, and they repeat the same thing. They stomp their foot, and they go, and they do all of the same actions we do because they're always watching us. So I guess we teaching them how to be angry too. So let's get it together, because they don't really know how to really be angry. But sometimes I think they do. I have a granddaughter, and she does her lip already. I'm like, hey, man, who taught you how to do that? Maybe it's innate. Hey, we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. As always, call a senior. Don't text them, okay? Unless they know how to make a FaceTime. Call them, just even if it's for 2 minutes. Tell them you love them, you care, and just give them 5 minutes of love. You know what I mean? It will make their week or their month. Stop being so busy that you can't call a senior person in your family, all right? Or in somebody else's family. You guys have a great day, everybody, and I'm going to breathe in and out. I'm gonna turn into the hurt master. When they hurt, I'm just gonna. I mean, when they angry, I'm gonna be like, oh, they just hurt. Come here, bring it in, baby. Bring it in. I know you're angry. Bring it in right here. They don't know how to react to that.
Oh, that'll end it right there.
It changes the game.
The best way is to just hug it out, and they're like,
right here. Bring it in. Right. They're not gonna know how to act. Hey, try a hug. Have you hugged your kid today? It was a long commercial back in the day, but just. I don't know why I'm going on and on. I feel happy now, even though this was an anger management show. Thank you, everybody.
Anger's not something we have to hide from.
Right. We don't need to be angry all day and bless a blood vessel. Thank you, everybody.